Good morning, everybody, and a happy Saturday morning to you. All right, this is going to be a short but sweet video. Once again, we're touching on what happened with Harry's immigration case and what the Heritage Group says now that they're going to do about it. There's a lot of information, including the actual documents for you guys to peruse. You can freeze the screen and peruse them at your leisure. Let's jump in and cover it, shall we? Let's go. Before I jump into the whole immigration thing, I just have to make one statement. Harry stood on that stage at the Clinton Global Initiative and goes, "My children are on the front of my cell phone, and what are we going to do to solve this issue?" And you know, if I had been in that audience, you know what I would have yelled out? Tell me, what are we going to do about your poor family who's been constantly attacked with podcasts and Netflix series and books? And how are we going to protect your family from you? That's what I would have yelled out. All right, let's move on. A little bit of background information, just in case you're new to this whole thing. A lawsuit was brought by a conservative think tank called the Heritage Foundation, which wanted to access Prince Harry's immigration records, claiming that accessing those records would help the public determine whether Homeland Security did the appropriate screenings, because we all know that Harry had past drug use and he basically told everybody about it in the spare. They said, quote, "Our goal is to ensure the Department of Homeland Security treats everyone, prince or ordinary citizen, equally when it comes to being allowed to legally enter the United States." This man noted Harry made it clear in Spare and everywhere else that he continues to use marijuana and cocaine, and that the drug use would have come up in his move to the United States. And it looks like Harry got special treatment. So that's what was going on. Now, in the middle of all this, Judge Nichols asked to see Harry's paperwork. And if you can believe this, Department of Homeland Security said, well, we need a 2-week extension because we're finding it harder to find than we thought. Like, what do you mean harder to find? Sounds to me like he probably didn't fill out paperwork and they had to make a paper trail. That's my personal opinion on it. And Harry's attorneys actually said in court, if you can believe this, just because Harry wrote about using the drugs in the spare doesn't mean he actually did. That basically he might have put that in there just to get people to buy his book. Really? He swore that was an unflinching, honest documentary of his life. Now, this is where things get interesting. This guy gets the visa. He's looking at the visa. And finally, he comes out with a decision that he is not going to allow it to be released, saying that the public interest in the records is not significant enough to justify a court-ordered document release, and that Harry has a, quote, legitimate privacy interest in his immigration status. So, of course, the Heritage Foundation came out because they were the ones who sued, and they sued the Biden administration for these records, came out and said that they're considering an appeal, that the visa ruling is very suspicious. So this may not be over yet. They said they're exploring an appeal, and this might be a case for Donald Trump if he wins the White House, and therefore it just got even more compelling because we know that Donald Trump has said that he did not like the way Harry and Meghan disrespected the Queen. He really liked the Queen. So Heritage Group said that the scandal just got even more suspicious and the case is far from over. Now, what's very curious, they said, are the redactions that something is afoot. Let me explain. So, ladies and gentlemen, here are the actual 13 pages from the United States District Court for the District of Columbia with their decision. And we're going to paraphrase a lot of this, okay? What it comes down to is this is a Freedom of Information Act case, and the Heritage Group seeks the disclosure by the Department of Homeland Security of immigration records relating to the Duke of Sussex, a member of the British royal family known popularly as Prince Harry. The government argues that the Duke has a privacy interest that outweighs any public interest in those records and has therefore withheld them, and with respect to one category has declined to confirm whether they exist at all. So following the judge's review of certain records and associated declarations, the court agrees that the Duke's privacy interest outweighs any public interest and therefore grants defendant's motions for summary judgment. It talks a lot about despair. Then you get to page 5, and all of a sudden you've got a lot of redacted information. This is where I say, and I've said it before, it's rules for thee, but not for me, because 3 declarations from different departments were then handed over to the judge. Now, the government also put in why they were withholding this information and what it was, and this is what was in the document, and this is what's reflected in the documents. As you go through the document, like on page 7, it talks about records or information compiled for law enforcement purposes could expect to be unwarranted invasion of personal privacy if released. So in other words, if there's a record of something, they don't think it should come out. Even more interesting, on page 8, it says, in limited circumstances, the government can decline to even acknowledge the existence of certain records if the fact of the existence falls within a specific exemption. By page 9, it says that the Heritage Group is partially correct that as a public figure, the Duke's public statements diminish his privacy interests compared to ordinary foreign nationals that are admitted to the United States. But it goes too far in arguing that the privacy interest is so diminished that he should be able to do whatever, we should be able to have all of his information. And as you can see, we've got more redacted information because it says the summary judgment reflects that the Duke has never disclosed publicly, among other things, the following information. And then, of course, it's all been redacted out. And then even on the next page, it says, as described in more detail above, Heritage's first argument is based on its contention that the Duke entered the United States either by disclosing his past drug use and was admitted inappropriately or failing to disclose his past drug use. And of course, it was all redacted. So do I think that somebody's protecting Harry? Oh, abso-frickin-lutely. Do I think they're going to appeal if Trump becomes president and ask him to open it up? Yes, I believe that too. Did Harry get special treatment? Yes. Let's not forget what the United States representative to the UK said. As long as Biden's in office, Harry has nothing to worry about. It does appear that there is a 2-tiered system of justice, and the people that are self-appointed elitists get the special treatment. Now, I have a sneaking suspicion that this case is not over yet. Oof. All right, you guys, you know what to do. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, go down into the description box after you've left your comments and hit the link to follow me over to our palate cleanser video number 2. Let's go.